And welcome back to another Inside Texas Live show. It's the Sunday Live with the IT guys. We got Mr. Joe Cook and Coach Dub joining me today. Appreciate you gentlemen taking some time out of a busy Sunday during Christmas season to join me. And today we're going to lean into the air attack versus power rushing game debate. What do you think Texas is more built to do? What are these guys' preferences? And what this roster is, again, what is more, what can it handle? So first, guys, go ahead and hop on over to InsideTexas.com right now. Take advantage of the $1 flash sale. Come be a part of our community. Again, best in-depth analysis you're going to find on the team, recruiting. You got portal news coming up, coaching changes, all types of good stuff. So $1, take advantage of that and come be a part of the Inside Texas community. But today's show, guys, is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And no better time to go hit up Academy right now because it is, again, the Christmas season. Plenty of great deals going on. Gentlemen, Joe, Coach Dub, y'all doing okay today?
Yeah, good. It's one of those fun times of year. I got to watch all the different games. High school and college, and a shade of pro yesterday. So good background noise and good primary viewing too.
Absolutely, man. So much ball going on Wednesday through Saturday. Obviously, Texas High School State Championships going on. Some really fun matchups. See some really, really talented young guys that are going to go kill it at the college level as well. And then obviously you had some college football playoff action. And we'll get into some more of our reactions to the college football playoffs at the end of this show. But for now, guys, let's talk Texas and Texas offense. We saw Texas try out a lot of 12 personnel early in the season, and for the most part, pretty unsuccessfully. Steve Sarkisian, when he has the bodies to run 12 personnel, we've seen what that can look like, at times at Alabama, and at times throughout his tenure at Texas. He loves to set up the play action shots, set up the leaks, down, try to attack downfield at times. Is this something that you think Texas in this roster are built to do more of in 2026 or to do it better than we just did in 2025? Or do you think Texas should, simply lean into the passing attack and the arm of Arch Manning and a definitely above average group of wideouts? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, man. I'm staying away from 12 personnel. I think this team is built for the spread. I would stay at 11. I even would run 10, even though he won't run 10 personnel. Like, you have a ton of weapons, a ton of athletes. Spread it out. If you really can't run the ball, what do? Spread it out, make the box lighter. Like, that'll help out your offensive line. You give you a running back, more creases to hit running the football. So I'll definitely go 11, 10 personnel more. I think that's what the offense is built for. Like I said, I mean, unless the tight ends grow up over the spring and off season and they become some, dominant pass blockers, and I just don't see it, right? And so do what you're best at. I think put more athletes on the field, and 11 or 10 personnel would be my goal.
I think when you look at what Texas could do with 12 personnel at this point, I'm thinking it's, Jack Endries and Nick Townsend. Because we saw this year, if Spencer Shannon was on the field, he wasn't catching a pass. He wasn't getting looked at for a pass. So, okay, that changes how you look at things. I think you can still run 12 personnel with those two guys, but then you just have to be able to pivot depending on what the defense gives you. Do teams try to stay in nickel when you're against that? Okay, then you have to be able to run the ball on that. You have to be able to run the ball on nickel when you have two tight ends on the field, even if they are pass catching, receiving type tight ends. If they go big and you can't do it, then okay, you got to bring things back a little bit. So I think that they can still really air it out and use athletes in space, but they can still do that from 12 personnel. I think you'll be able to have that. But that's also not what Sark does. If he has a 12 personnel, it's like, okay, they're doing this to set up our play action passing stuff. So then you have to be realistic about it and then just kind of think, 11 is probably going to be the path. A lot of that depends on what happens with that third wide receiver position and who is able to, or maybe the fourth, and maybe who they put into the slot next year when you have all three of these guys you expect to be back and what happens there. But I don't know. I think the personnel conversation may be a little bit different than the direction conversation. And then I agree with Coach on that front. It's like, okay, they need to be able to pass a little bit more, even if that does mean 12 personnel, using Endries, using Townsend, using those guys.
Well said, gentlemen. And I mean, I will say in defense of both of you and maybe leaning a little bit more towards the air attack, spreading teams out. Kyle Flood's units, assuming that he may still be that guy at the the leader of the O-line group, they've done a much better job of pass protecting, and so maybe, you lean into that even more than you have, but you got to be able to run the football a little bit, right? In an ideal world, you're able to be multiple. You're able to trot out 12 personnel. You can trot out 11. You can run 10, whatever you want. That's what I want to see out of Texas. And again, you don't have to be flawless, but I don't think you should completely abandon, what Sark's love is. He loves to put some big bodies, big tight ends out there and set up those play actions. But again, we're in week 4 or 5. We're running play action shots on 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10 against Florida. And it's like, brother, we're deep enough in the game right now. We're not fooling anybody on this. Nobody in the world thinks we're going back to the run again to get stuffed. And so, yeah, maybe a little quicker adjusting when it's not really there. Nick Townsend will definitely grow. That's the guy that's going to get better as a blocker. Jack injuries again. I hope he has a big bowl game. I hope that we see more and more of him the way that we saw it in A&M. So we ran him a little bit more. The leaks there. We got him out and vertically a little bit more than we had some in the season. Really since non-conference. So I think Jack injuries could be a big part of that offense. I do like 11 personnel a little bit more than I like 12, just because I think you can do a few different things. You can keep the box, spread out, not as condensed. But if you line up at 12 personnel, you just have to be able to run the football. What's the biggest thing, in your opinion? We'll start with you, Joe. If Texas were to be more successful 12 personnel next season, because we know we're going to see some of it, what needs to happen?
Yeah, they need better guys on that interior. And I think that's why – we're all talking about like what do interior portal offensive line targets look like. Feeling good about Gooseby, feeling good about Baker. We saw them develop over the course of this year, but we also didn't see them tested too hard because teams would be like, those guys are fine. Let's attack this interior. So they got left with one-on-one matchups. They want those one-on-one matchups. They look good. I'm excited for what not only Gooseby can do next year, but also Brandon Baker. In order to do what they want to do and maybe have that rushing attack, they need better interior offensive linemen. Just the inability for the displacement in the run game and the inability to kind of successfully protect just really limited that Texas offense throughout most of the year.
Well said. You got to be able to run the ball when you want to run duo. You want to run inside zone. You got to improve right there on the interior of the offensive line. That's going to be a very simple and big and necessary requests that we all have for Texas in this offensive line. Coach Dub, you lean in a little bit more into the spread attack. You'll set 11. You even want some 10 personnel for Texas in this passing game, which kind of woke up obviously a little bit in the second half of the season. They got better and better. Arch got more comfortable. Saw a little bit of happy feet and a little bit of, maybe he's a little sped up early in the A&M game, but he settled down. Shout out again to the receivers helping him a little more in that game than maybe they had in previous, but what does that passing attack need to really emphasize and focus on to get better, in your opinion, going into 26?
I'll say the biggest thing is that guys outside can consistently win one-on-one matchups. Like if you can win one-on-one outside, you open up everything. Then the safety start having to play back and cover, right? And so now the box gets even lighter. And so you can take advantage of some matchups outside. Then I think you can really, really open up everything else. If you look at it now, a lot of teams may feel like they can play a straight up man up. Who do they fear outside, right? But if you got some guys out there start winning more 50-50 balls and winning deep, okay, then I'm gonna deploy some safeties in the back, and now the box has 5 in it, and I can run against 5 all day, right? Yep. I should be able to anyway. You can set up your play action. Everything can be open, right? Your RPO, your read option with Arch, everything can be open because everything's spread out. And so once you get that, I think it really, really helps. But it starts with the guys outside because we do a great job pass protecting. But if you give Arch Manning some space to, operate in the spread, quick throws at the sticks and all things like that, and the athletes and the receivers take advantage of that, I think you can really do damage. And I think that would definitely help.
I fully agree with you there. Old adage, you run the ball to throw the ball. You see more and more coaches now throwing the ball to be able to run the ball. You want to get linebackers. You want to get these defensive lines moving. And again, you've seen this for a long time. I do like that about the Sarkisian offense. I think he does a really good job of making linebackers stink and getting these guys kind of pausing for just a moment. Because, there is so much eye candy. There's so much misdirection. You have so much in the screen game. And so, yeah, I fully agree with you there. You definitely depending on the amount that you improve that interior of the offensive line, that could be our future, opening up the run game via the pass. And hopefully, we're a little bit more consistent in the downfield department of that. Because I think, again, just trying to unlock levels to this offense, and pass protection was a big part of that. When you want to run some play action shots, running the football is going to help a lot there as far as attacking downfield. So Texas just went full spread, and we're like, hey, we're going to implement some quick spread game concepts. maybe that unlocks some, more consistent downfield success for Texas later, in 2026. Because I know Sarkisian wants to dial it up, and we know Arch Manning, has a little bit of affinity for throwing a deep ball, and he does a pretty dang good job of it. I want to bring this comment from David back on the screen. Successful Texas offense can have an identity of multiple facets of a great offense without being completely focused on one sole facet. Completely agree there. The best Sarkisian offenses that we've seen, over the last decade are teams that can run the ball and teams that can throw them. I mean, it becomes a little bit of child's play for play callers when you have the ability to run, to throw at your will. Now, again, that's an ideal world. That's what we like to see. Texas be able to have success in 12, also be able to line up a little bit of 11. Man, Coach, I'm with you. I'd love to see some 10 personnel. I almost want to see 0 personnel at times. Go empty, and really, again, you'll have probably a tight end on the field in that set, but
Court, my bad. I was like thinking of that. How many 4-man rushes beat us? It's like we had trouble when everybody would bring in 6 or 7 at the line, give us a double mug look, right? Because we were in 12 personnel. They can bring more people into the box. You do that versus the spread. Like, I'm gonna throw a quick bubble. Anything's open. Like, I can just pitch and catch at that point. So you get more teams running less stunts and bringing so many people in the box because it'll make it easier for pitch and catch, right? And so help your offensive line out. Get everybody out of that box.
I think one other thing, it's not just 12 personnel, but it's not like Texas was all that good at 7-man protections, which is, another just aspect of some of these deep passes. All right, well, don't run 7-man protections. Like, throw those guys out on the field. Make them have to work to cover them. And, if they still bring a blitz that usually would require like a 7-man protection, all right, just throw it real fast and then problem solved. So, yeah, there's a lot of different moving pieces to why, this, that, and the other may work. Man, I think I've counted before, and Sarks ran like maybe 5 snaps of 10 personnel at Texas. Like, just does not happen. And so I understand the wish, and I think it was like only for Hail Marys. Like, it was literally like the Tech game in 22 and then the Washington game in 22, like when they were, desperate in Alamo Bowl and in Lubbock. So it's not something he does. He is not interested at all.
I mean, he wants to tight on the field, and I understand it. Now, you mentioned the fact that, when Spencer Shannon was on the field, he's not getting looked at for a pass. I did think that Arch did a better job later in the season about, as we implemented more of the quick game stuff at targeting, essentially everything. You saw a couple of games where he completed passes to double digit number of receivers and targets there. And so that, I think, will continue to be a big part of Arch's, growth and development, but also this offense improving and the defense wasn't the biggest issue of the two in 2025. And so I need this offense to take the next level up. Got to be able to run the football. Again, I think implementing the spread game stuff until we know what that interior offensive line, that would be the easy answer for me as we get into this and wrap that part of the show up. Any final words regarding the offense at all as far as power run game versus spread attack? And again, we need to see what this roster looks like to know the capabilities and what we'll probably be better at. So this will be a little bit easier to answer maybe a month or 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, after portal additions, right? We'll see.
I think it just kind of depends on if Sark wants to continue to be run to set up the pass, or if he wants to maybe evolve to pass to set up the run. Because the play action works either way when you're making that a basis of your offense. But if you do one to set up the other, like, that's what got Washington to the national finals a couple of years ago. That's probably what Alabama is this year, is pass to set up the run. And, the run hadn't been successful for Bama, but they could still pass it. Kind of similar to Texas. Like, it's just, what do you want? What do you want to be the chicken? What do you want to be the egg? And I think that's a big decision for Sark that he may not have ever thought he had to make heading into this offseason.
That's really well said, brother. Again, with portal acquisitions, we'll start to really – I need Texas to add some electricity in the slot. I need a little bit more speed, a little bit more twitch there. Sark doesn't necessarily, utilize the slot in the way that some others really lean on it. But again, I think that'd be a big boost to this offense. You add a guy that can really get vertical, but also you saw, not to lean on him, but I think Sark would do a little bit more with a guy like a Mario Craver or Casey Concepcion. You could line those types of guys up in the slot and win some battles inside all day long. But all right, guys, we mentioned this show is brought to you by Academy of Sports and Outdoors. The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in-store or online at academy.com and save on gifts on everybody's list, from football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands. The most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of a fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Gentlemen, y'all got all your Christmas shopping done yet?
No, that's what you're doing a little bit later.
Yeah, definitely. I got some more to finish up with. Yeah.
Checking the Excel spreadsheet, I think I got like 6 more family members to take care of, man. It's a slow check off, man. I was like, man, I thought I was going to get more done today, and here we are just a couple days out, and it's still battling. But all right, guys, obviously we saw Oklahoma build up a 17-point lead against Alabama on Friday night. They're at home against Kalen DeBoer's Crimson Tide, and then things got real sideways. You saw a 4th and 2 touchdown for Alabama, followed by a dropped punt by Oklahoma's punter that led to an easy score. And then you saw the pick six. Really kind of felt like the beginning of the backbreaker there. What were y'all's thoughts as y'all watched OU somewhat implode a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, and OU's defense just really had no answers for Alabama in that second half?
Man, you know what? I missed a lot of it because I was at the state championship games while they were going on. But they kept, people kept having breaking news like, oh, Oklahoma's up. I'm like, wow, they're up by 17. Like, wait, this can't be real. The next thing you know, I'm walking to the car, and next thing I know is Alabama's about to tie it up. Then the pick six happened. So I was like, what in the world is going on? OU's material went full material, I guess. But it seems like, a team, they are who they are. And they had some success early, right? And probably new wrinkles, like it happens in the playoffs. But I think once both teams settled in, Alabama was just a better team, better coach team, better quarterback, better everything. And so, I'm not mad at the loss. It's good to see your rival go down in round one at home, right? First playoff home team to lose, right? Then followed up by yesterday by A&M. So hey, you can't be mad at that whatsoever. But I missed the meltdown. I missed the build up to the meltdown because I was watching high school football.
The drop from the punter, that's just like one of those freak things that you're like, wow, that's the moment that happens, and obviously Bama takes advantage of it. But I mean, like you mentioned with Mateer was not playing bad in that first half. He was doing some great things. Just makes a very bad throw. Like you're looking and you don't even see the receiver. And we're not privy to whether the receiver ran the wrong route or quarterback threw the wrong ball. But no matter what, that's a backbreaker, because that goes from, that could have been a 4-score game to then it's like a 2-score game. Well, then right there, you give Bama some life. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, this freshman wide receiver who's not Ryan Williams, who's not Jeremy Bernard, who's not, any of the other major guys for Bama, here he is making huge plays. Somebody steps up, and for Bama, it was him, it was Ty Simpson. And I think this can be somewhere to maybe, I think that applies to both games that we saw, because the other ones were what they were. Talent. It's that if you have a quarterback who can level your team up, like, it is super, super valuable. And Mateer wasn't that, and Reed wasn't that either. It's hard to say Carson Beck was, and I guess you could kind of say, Simpson finishes first by default with all that, but like having that type of quarterback who you can trust not only to make the simple plays, which OU has struggled with this year, but also the exceptional plays, that's really what's going to help you in this playoff. And that's why teams like, that's why teams like Alabama and Indiana and even, some others like Oregon at this point, looking and feeling really good about their prospects because they know their quarterbacks are so good.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like Alabama did take it, but obviously Oklahoma opened that door. You know what I mean? Ty Simpson definitely picked up some momentum and picked up his play in the second half. They picked up the run game there in the third quarter. But I felt like they needed every one of those plays that we just talked about. The 4th and 2 score, if it's 17-0, if they don't score on 4th and 2 there, if they don't pick up a first down there, who knows if that defense gets a stop. Oklahoma very easily could go up 4 scores, as you mentioned. Well, then the next thing you know, you have the punter drop. Well, then you have the pick six, which is we're not even talking about the deep post that was dropped by Oklahoma. The very, Mateer likely could have picked up a first down with his feet. I think 100% of the time he likely does there. But I mean, that's a pretty wide open shot. That's a home run play, somewhat of a game changing play. You got to bring that in, man. And so again, not happy that or was it sad to see it play out the way that it did. But it felt like Bama needed all those plays to really get back in that game. And then once they had their foot in the door, it was like, all right, it is ours now. And just you could see their sideline acting completely different there. The late in the second quarter, obviously they're getting back in the game. In that second half, that just the confidence lifted up in the other side of the field. On that sideline, that balloon in the air, it got popped and deflated pretty dang quick. And so I think that's the difference. Mateer, I mean, he's a bit limited. I think he played a really strong, first quarter and a half up until, a couple of bad decisions there, a bad decision. And then again, late forcing things a little bit. But when we came out of the third quarter in Alabama, I think they ran like a buck sweep or a power sweep. And, I think it's 25, 30-yard gain. And that moment right there, I was like, we've seen this dance from Oklahoma's defense before. We've seen it right now. Coach comes into halftime, comes out with a couple of adjustments on the ground, and all of a sudden, that Alabama offense is not known for being able to run the ball whatsoever. They were breaking off a couple of big plays and really helped out that passing game with Ty Simpson there. But yeah, it's like you said, Joe, I don't know the kid's name, the freshman, the young kid, the kid that stepped up and made a couple of really big plays, had 2 touchdowns. Credit to him. Alabama went and found a way, and now they get Indiana. Let's go to Saturday morning. There's 3 of us, which equals the number of points A&M scored at home at Kyle Field in their first college football playoff game ever. Really deflating to watch, those Aggies were very deflated to watch that offense. Very frustrated, very tense crowd. What were y'all's thoughts? I thought Miami could give them issues, but I think A&M gave themselves just as many issues as Miami did, truthfully, on that side of the ball.
I think it's one of those things where Miami – the best part of their team came to play, and that's those defensive linemen. That's Bain. That's I think Isidore. All those guys had the game that they needed to, because A&M, they had Le'Veon Moss, however effective he was. They had obviously Reuben Owens and EJ Smith and Marcel Reed doing some stuff on third down, but all those guys were having to fight for their yards. And Marcel Reed, they put the ball in his hand, said, "Okay, pass it. Try to work down the field with your arm." And the Miami defensive line, and obviously the secondary, that entire defense was just doing fantastic stuff, as the A&M was just not being able to put points on the board. And the wind obviously plays a huge factor with making field goal kicking ineffective. And I think there was a good article on On3 today where it's like, well, if you're Malachi Tony, you should go down at the 1. It's like, a 25-yard field goal in these conditions is not, it's no simple task. And, if you think you can keep an offense that has only scored 3 points all day off the board for a minute and a half, then I think you take that risk. So, but yeah, for me, it was nothing about what Carson Beck. So, and therefore also nothing about what really Marcel Reed did. It was just mostly about the idea that the Miami defensive line, when they needed them to, came to play. And surprisingly, real upset of the year, Mario Cristobal made some good in-game decisions, and that's not something we can say very often.
How about you, Coach?
Well, I was covering the South Oak Cliff game at the time, and the score kept popping up at 0-0. Then it was late in the game. We got I think it was 10-3, and it's late in the game. And South Oak Cliff game ends. I'm trying to get up to the press box. The elevator's going slow. Come on, I'm trying to go watch the end of this A&M Miami game. And I got to the press box, got in my seat to see Marcel Reed throw the interception in the end zone. I was like, oh, great. I saw the best part, right? Just egg on your face. And embarrassed in front of your home crowd, seeing your second rival lose at home. I thought it was great, but because at the time I didn't know, I was like, man, it must be a sloppy game or a really defensive game, because I didn't get to see the missed field goals, the blocked field goals, and all that. And so, but yeah, man, I saw the best part. Marcel Reed throwing the interception. He just sold. I don't know what he was looking at, but
I don't know what Colin Klein's thinking. That's who you're targeting. You're blocking tight end.
Yeah.
That when you have Craver, Concepcion, all these different guys, and you're like, let me throw it to this tight end who we use but don't feature.
Yeah. Klein likes to run somebody across, the middle, and then have somebody kind of leak behind him or a delayed leak. I didn't see if that's what he was trying to do on that play, but yeah, I don't know what Klein or Marcel were thinking there. And again, Klein's got to put Marcel in a good position to succeed there, but. Going back to what you said, Joe, there's no way you go down at the 1 yard line. Not with everything that we had just saw in the previous 3 hours and the weirdness and the oddness of that game. You go score a touchdown. And then you know that even if A&M, I wish they did, they drive down the field a little bit. Once that field condenses and all A&M speed at wide receiver, is inside the 25, 30 yard, and you can really kind of box it up a little more, make Marcel beat you. And so that's, obviously, hindsight is 2020, easy to say that now. Everything paid off the way Miami thought it might. But yeah, man, that is a complete egg. I did not think Colin Klein had a great game. I think that they went to way too many screens in the quick game. It seemed like they would run for 2nd and 4, then they would try to throw a little screen into a pretty obvious set. And they'd get wrapped up for a 2-yard loss, and all of a sudden they're facing the 3rd down that they didn't see coming, probably weren't prepared for on the headsets. But yeah, again, I think A&M, they essentially called out this Miami front 7 a little bit, and we saw how that paid off for them. Bain went in there and had a couple of tackles for loss, a few sacks, played a massive part in that one. And again, I'll say it right now. I think if A&M's serious about competing, that they'll probably that they should look for another transfer portal quarterback or 2 even. That maybe even I'm not saying you bench Marcel immediately, but maybe pushes him, and then you have another option, because we saw what Marcel looked like in the last 2 games that they played versus Texas, and obviously in the bowl game. But yeah, ton of fun for us. Great weekend, Charlie. You had a blast covering Texas State championships. You see Oklahoma A&M lose, Joe. I know you're watching both of those games. But yeah, any final words on those guys before we get you all out of here?
No, man, just look, I have to give a shout out just because, being in Dallas, I know it was Dallas versus Houston all weekend. And North Shore got the win over Duncanville, but man, just see like South Oak Cliff and DeSoto kind of run away with it. I don't know. There was so much talent on every single team yesterday. Like, it didn't matter where they're from. Like, you saw so much Division I talent. It's crazy. So much speed. I think I saw maybe more speed in high school teams and then probably on the Cowboy Stadium playing today versus the Chargers. Like, unbelievable, man. But there's some 2027 guys out there that Texas is targeting, and that we really should pay attention to. Like Brian Swanson from South of Cliff, offensive lineman. He was out there sporting Texas gear yesterday. He had Texas glove on a Texas sleeve. I was like, okay, Brian. Sarad Baker, who just had a phenomenal playoff run, running back for DeSoto, who just got off from Texas. So he's another kid. Defense tackle from DeSoto, Kadrian Redmond. Like, it's so many guys, man, that in this 2027 cycle we should pay attention to that played in the field this past weekend. It was great.
Really well said, man. Sarad's definitely elevated his name here in the last few weeks. Talk about a pretty special run. You don't see many things done like he just did over the last month. But all right, guys, we do appreciate y'all watching Inside Texas again. Hop on over to Inside Texas and take advantage of that $1 flash sale. Become a part of our community. But we'll see y'all soon.